Welcome Nomads. We're going to get a little medieval today. We're going to do a swing and fly. This is going to be a bunny spey. Intruder. So we're going to be losing this hook, the hook on our base here. You can substitute in a shank if you'd prefer to not have to clip off the hook. But I decided I'm just going to do a straight up basic bunny spey intruder and then clip the hook off just in case there are folks out there who can't get their hands on the Senyo's shanks and other products and stuff. So the first thing I need is an attachment for my stinger hook. So this is a number 4 hook. When I clip the bend off of it, it's going to give me about 25 to 28 millimeters. Going to be about the same as a 25 or a 28 millimeter Senyo shank. I got some 30-pound test Polypro Superline. What I'm going to do is I'm going to double that over. So I've doubled it over into a loop. I'm going to lay that right from the eye to the bend of the shank. I'm going to switch hands, move that right back, and I'm going to start to trap that right there. So I'm going to wrap down the hook to where I'm going to want to take my bend off, which for the sake of continuity I always usually do right around the point of the hook. Now for a little extra anchoring power, I'm going to continue my thread wraps just up onto the very base of my double eye and close that eye. I'm going to take the tag ends of my Superline, thread them through the eye. Oops, if I can get both of them. There we go. Thread them through the eye. I'm going to grab a pair of pliers. I'm going to grab that. I'm just going to give them a twist back. And that's going to suck those guys right in between those two. Right in between the double shank at the eye of the hook right there. So then, just for the sake of easiness, I'm going to trim those off at about 1/4 of an inch. I'm going to continue to wrap up. I'm going to pull those back, and I'm going to wrap right over the top of them. And that's going to give me a super solid anchor for my stinger attachment, which is Superline, so it's not going to break. I'm going to treat it with a little glue, a little super glue. Then I'm going to attach my weight and my keel. For this particular pattern, I'm going to go to about the halfway point of the fly. I'll flip the hook upside down, and I've chosen a set of large bead eyes. These happen to be black because they're going to fit in with the overall color scheme of my fly. And I'm going to X pattern those in. And after I put some X's on them, I'm going to wrap in between the eyes and the shank of the hook, pulling that tight to compress those wraps. Then I'm going to put an equal amount of X wraps on it again. Usually I'll count to 10 on each side, and that gives me 20 wraps. Gives me a nice... Check it out and make sure you got it. Before you glue it down, make sure you got it nice and level. And then again around the base, in between the eyes and the shank, to tighten up those wraps. And more glue. Glue on top, glue on bottom. Good to go. Alright, I've been using 140 denier white thread just because that's what I have handy, and it's usually standard what I do if I'm making up a bunch of these. I'm going to get rid of that thread and go to a 70 denier. That's going to match the color of the pattern that I'm tying. In this case I'm going to use black. Wrap that thread on, and we go right back to where my stinger attaches. First thing I'm going to put in is about 3 wraps of holographic chartreuse estase. Tie that in good. And when I wrap it, I'm going to pull the fibers back so that I trap as few of them as possible. There's 2. There's 3. Do I want to go 4? Yeah, why not? I got a nice butt. Bind that estase down good and get rid of the tag. You don't have to be especially neat with this back end of the fly, and when we start stacking materials on it, you'll see why. Just make sure you get it bound down good. Now I'm going to need kind of a support for my rabbit, for my bunny wing, and synthetics are what I have found work the best, and crystal flash is really good for this purpose because it's stiffer. It's stiffer than Flashaboo, and it's got that extra flash in it. So I'm going to cut off 10 to 12, 15 fibers. This happens to be chartreuse crystal flash. I've got I don't know, probably about 4 inches of it. I'm going to tie it down right at the back. Or actually, no, I need another step. I'm getting ahead of myself. Crystal flash is coming. But the first thing I want to do to help prop the crystal flash up is come in with a saddle hackle. Or actually, this is slopping. So I've got a short feather of chartreuse slopping. So I bind that down good, get rid of the tip, and I want to fill a good portion of this thread base behind the eyes with the slopping. So I'm going to wind up wrapping most of this feather on there. This is going to start to give me a collar, and it's going to help to prop up my wing. So once I get it started a few wraps, I'm going to come in with a pair of hackle pliers. Make sure that I brush all the fibers back. I want to trap as few as possible again. So after every wrap, I'm going to brush these fibers back, and I'm going to grab them and pull them back as I wrap them. I'm going to get this nice little collar. Bright chartreuse collar. And once we got most of that feather on, that's probably about right. I'm going to tie that off. Trim that butt. Alright, and now I'm ready for the crystal flash. So now I've got my 12 to 15 fibers of crystal flash. I'm going to lay that down right, half sticking back and half sticking forward. Come over the top of it right behind those eyes. I'll put some wraps on it, make sure I got it right on top, centered. Bind it down there, and then I'm going to fold it over, fold the front over and the back, so I just doubled it up. Tie that down. There we go. Now I don't want this to extend too far. So here's about where my hook's going to be. So I want that, I basically want to even that up and cut that right at the end of my loop. And now to help stiffen it, I'm going to take, and to get ready for putting on my rabbit wing, I'm going to take a little glue, a little super glue, and I'm going to come in and I'm going to let it just soak right into the base of that crystal flash. Then I'm going to paint the rest of it right on top of the eyes. Go on, just add a little bit. Okay, now I've got a pre-cut tricolor chartreuse and green and black banded rabbit strip wing. And what I've done is I've taken the back of it and I've cut it into a point to up the movement, mobility, and at the front I've trimmed off the hair and I've cut that into a point so it's easy to tie in. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give that glue a little bit of time just to set up a little bit. Then I'm going to come in and I'm going to place that point right there between the eyes, and I'm going to bind it down. Because I got that super glue on there already, that's gonna go right in place. You want to make sure that you get it in there the first time. Then I'm going to X in between the eyes a couple times to cover up that butt section. Alright, there we go. So now I've got a synthetic flashy underwing, which is going to help hold up that rabbit wing. Now the next part, I'm going to go back to my saddle hackle, and this time I've selected two contrasting colors. I've got my chartreuse again, but I also have a black. So because the chartreuse was the last one that I put on, I'm going to put the black behind the chartreuse feather. I grab it by the tip and I'm going to pull it against the grain. Get those fibers all reversed so I can wrap them in easy. And then I'm going to tie this in by the tips. Right there at the base of my rabbit wing. There we go. I'm going to come in, I'm going to grab them right there, bind them down, X forward over the bases to make sure I can get a good grip on them, and tie them down a little bit in front, make sure they don't slip on me. Trim them bases out. We'll get them stragglers later. They're just all going to hide in this anyway, so I'm going to kind of wet my fingers and smooth my tail back and the other schlapping and stuff. So I'm going to take both these feathers at the same time, give them a little rotation to get them sticking straight up. I'm going to line them up on the bottom, and I'm going to attach a clamp or a hackle pliers to the tips. Now I can hold on to both of them at the same time and wrap them together. So every time I wrap, I'm going to put it's going to be 2 wraps of slopping, 1 black, 1 chartreuse, and I'm looking for 2 to 3 behind the eyes and the rest of those feathers in front. So when I get to my third one behind, what I'm going to do is pull everything back, and I'm just going to cross over right in front, right in between the eyes, and then bring it down in front and just make sure that I get everything. Try not to trap too much down. And then I'm just going to keep that first wrap nice and tight to those bead eyes, and I'm just going to continue wrapping 2 contrasting colors forward until I basically run out of feather. And once I run out of feather, I bind it down, Get rid of that clamp. And trim them butts out of there. And any extra that's sticking out you can just sweep back and tie down. Alright, we're getting close to finishing this fly. But once I start putting the slopping on it, what I like to do is I like to brush it out. Free up those fibers. Get them standing out where they're supposed to be. Gives me an idea what the finished fly is gonna look like. And I just love this combination of black and chartreuse wrapped at the same time. It just gives me just a fantastic effect and color combination. I love black and chartreuse. So good. Alright, so I'm going to add a little bit of additional flash. What I'm going to do is I'm going to top it. I'm going to top the fly with five, 6, 7, 8, however many you want. I'm going to cut off a full length hank of 5 to 8 fibers of black Flashabou. I'm going to lay half of it, the back half laying over the tail. I'm going to trap that, put a couple of wraps on it, and I'm going to pull that forward part and double it over and wrap it down. Pull everything back. So now I've got a nice flashy black topping. I'm going to pull all that back and I'm going to cut it even with the tail. There we go. Alright, so there is one thing, like I said, this is a full dress one. You can leave out or add or change up any of these materials or anything like that. If you want to do a solid color, that's fine and stuff. The one thing that I like to do is I like to throw in a little classic. This is a medium size, it's not the best quality, but it's some of that stuff that you don't use a whole lot. A leftover teal feather. I just love the way the classic salmon flies and stuff look, so I like to incorporate some classic naturals even into my flies that have a lot of synthetics on them. So what I do is I've stripped the base off of it and I separated the fibers from the tip and pulled them back in reverse style. I'm going to tie that in by the tip right there, and I'm only going to get a couple of wraps out of this. I'm going to pull that butt, and instead of clipping it off, I'm just going to tie it down right there so that it sticks, so that it hides in that collar. I'm going to pull that, wet my fingers and sweep that slopping back out of the way. Attach my hackle pliers at the base, and I'm only going to be able to get a couple of wraps out of this. But it's just going to give us that real great mottled classic salmon steelhead fly look. There we go. So I'm going to wrap right over that butt section of that. Make sure I get it bound down real nice before I clip it off. And waterfowl feathers, you don't get very many wraps out of them, and they usually got a big butt, big thick stem that can be a bear to tie down a lot of times. And before I go on, I come in with my brush and I'm going to brush that teal out, get it spread around the hook real nice. So we can, if you're swinging for steelhead and lake run fish and stuff, I don't know, I love to fish for them. They're big and strong, they're worthy adversaries, and I just like to give them a nice looking fly that I'd want. If somebody was going to make something to catch me, I'd like something like this. Fancy, Okay, last thing I'm going to put on is the mobile part of I'm going to put on a head of black slopping. So I'm just going to use the longer stuff at the base of one of these slopping feathers. I'm not going to need much. So I'm going to tie that in good. Get rid of that butt. Make sure I have a nice base of thread there. So everything wraps nice. Alright, there we go. So I'm going to finish off this head with probably most of this black, short black slopping feather. And we want to make sure that we don't crowd our eye. And I think I'm good right there. Come in and tie that bad boy off. Get him out of there. Okay, just to keep in the spirit, we'll give my brush out. We're going to get all this stuff to, all these feather fibers to come out and say hello. So we've got a mix of black and chartreuse, real mobile slopping fibers. We've got a real mobile black barred rabbit strip. We've got real mobile black flashaboo. We've got that barring in there from the teal. There's only one thing that we need to do, and you can omit the eyes if you want, but again, special fish need a special fly. And what I'm going to put on these are my homemade, I call them droid eyes, but these are hand painted jungle cock imitation. And I haven't decided whether I'm going to share how to make these or not. I might just keep them for myself, but I like them a lot, so we'll put them on. They're just on a strip. I'm just going to trim them. And then it's basically just a matter of tying one in on either side. I like to tie them in kind of on the top half so that they kind of angle back. I spin my bobbin to get a nice tight thread. I'm going to lay one on the side nearest to me. Two or three nice tight wraps. Check to see how it's positioned, which it's positioned very nicely. And then I'll do the far side, keeping them the same length, roughly the same length, and the same positioning, so I get a nice even presentation. Two or three nice tight wraps. Check your positioning. Looks good to me. A few additional wraps, and then come in with your scissors, pull those butt ends back, trim them close. And I'm going to wrap a little thread in front so my thread wraps don't slip. And then as the head gets larger, I will progress onto the base of those eyes. Once I've got them covered up, my head is not gigantic, gigantic or oversized by any means, which is fantastic. I'm going to throw in a 2 or 3 turn whip finish right there. Now I'm going to glue it. Now for preserving the color of the thread, when I finish a head, I always use super glue. I like to run that up into the base of those eyes just a little bit. So I'll coat the head with super glue. And then if I want to do a presentation style shiny head, I will finish with a little clear cure goo, set it, and then a high gloss head cement. So I'm not going to do that just for the sake of time, but that's what you want to do if you want a real nice glossy head similar to this guy. So, and there's a pink and salmon version of this other fly we just tied. Kind of nice. Or perhaps you're more low water and stuff, you can get into the more natural colors. Black, brown, and white, more like a typical streamer. Or if you're a big fan of purple, you do one like that. There's another blue, white, and black, purple banded rabbit strip, a little size bigger, with a mix of purple and white hackle, and finish it off with a dark purple head. Okay. Now the only thing I need to do is, I'm not going to clip the hook off right now, but I am going to slide on my chosen stinger hook so you guys can see what it looks like. What I'll do when the heads are dry is I'll just pull them out of the vise, grab them in the cutters on the old needle nose pliers, and snap that hook off into a trash can so it doesn't wind up in my foot later on. So I'm just going to flip it over upside down, pull my tail and stuff down. I'm going to smooth out my stinger so that it will fit right into the eye of whatever size stinger hook I've chosen. And this happens to be a size 6 hook, and I tend to prefer the smaller ones. And it's a nice green one, which matches the overall color of the fly. So once I get that on, I'll smooth her down. And there he is, finished bunny Spey. Kind of a mishmash of different intruder style patterns. You know, there's some of Senyo's AI and his in Scandies and stuff is in there, and then there's, you know, there's a lot of different influence in this fly. But you can tie this fly in really any color that you can get rabbit strip and slopping in, and you can put any kind of flash you want on it, and you can weight it more if you want. You want to put lead eyes on it. You can slide a bead, and you can slide a contrasting color bead like a hot orange or something on here if you want a little more brightness. It's just the template for this fly is just unlimited with what you can do with it. I mean, you can change it. You can change the wing. You can change, you know, you can spin that body in a dubbing loop. You can do. It's just a world of unlimited possibilities with this basic template. So get yourself some materials. Contact Brian and Tommy at Nomad Anglers and get you some stuff, and whip some of these out, and go grab and go get yourself a tug from a steelhead or a lake run brown or something. So hope you enjoyed it. Go Nomads. And that's my cat.